FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome, and you are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It's February 6th, 2018. Well, you've watched a lot of things going on in Congress, State of the Union address, scandals in Washington, deep state. I called it the Deep State of the Union address, and a lot more. Hey, first, as always, please participate in the show. Email us, kl@kerrylutz.com. Hey, so deep state is really responding here. They might even be driving the stock market down. It's a perfect time to do it anyway. Perhaps they're even behind the decline of Bitcoin. Who knows what these people are capable of? But the market is up right now about 78 points, 79 points. So perhaps the Wall Street rout is over, but the scandals go on. And here to talk about them is Dr. Gerard Lameiro. You know him well. The site is greatnewsforamerica.com. His first title of his first book, second book coming out, moregreatnewsforamerica.com. Hey, Gerard, it's great to have you back on.
Yeah, great to be back with you. And that new book, a lot of people are asking for it, and hopefully it'll be out soon. It's the follow-up to Great News for America, and it's about the future and some new predictions I'm making for the next few years in politics.
Really? So what are the predictions here? Let's hear.
You want to hear the good stuff?
Yeah.
Well, we'll skip over the FISA fiasco and talk a little bit. My long-range model on the presidential election, which is sort of like my sweet spot of modeling, and that is that Donald Trump is going to win re-election by a larger electoral college victory than he had to win the first time around. He won with actually 305. It was 306, but one Texas elector didn't vote for him, and it looks like right now he would be winning at about 350 electoral votes. In terms of the House and the Senate, it looks like this year, 2018 congressional elections, it looks like the Republicans will lose somewhere between 6 and 8 seats, but will retain control of the House. It'll be slightly more conservative than it is now, which might help Trump a little bit. And in the Senate, the Democrats were hoping to somehow take that back, but given the fact that they're up against the terrible statistical odds, and also the fact that it's harder for them to win in a lot of states because they're too liberal, well, maybe radical is more appropriate to say these days. It's hard for them to win states. They can win cities. They can get mayor seats pretty easy in some of the big cities. But it looks like the Republicans are going to pick up a number of seats in the Senate, and they will retain control of the Senate as well. Again, slightly more conservative than the current Congress and the current Senate.
So now that Bannon's gone, is it just going to be the GOP that selects these candidates, or are we going to get true people's candidates?
You're going to get a mix. I think there are some places where the establishment is firmly rooted. It's going to be harder for them to be primaried out of existence and that. But there are other places where conservatives hold reign, and they will get more conservative candidates in place. Changing the Congress by design of the Constitution is a slow process. Even though the House is up for re-election every 2 years, there's a lot of inertia, and the Senate's even more so, and that's why it's even harder to buck that system. But slowly but surely, the American people are electing more conservative people, and they're leaning more and more toward Trump. He is picking up support because the Democrats are so off the deep end that it's hard even for Democrats to support them. Because believe it or not, a lot of Democrats are pro-American. Isn't that a strange thing to think of?
Who would have thunk? Amazing. Well, you look at it and you see that the media is really providing a very distorted picture of what's going on here. right? I mean, they're really...
Well, absolutely, but also take a look. I always say follow the money. It tells you a lot, and that's something financial folks that you're familiar with should probably know quite well. Follow the money, and if you look at the money, the Democrats, their coffers are more or less empty. They're not getting small donors. They get a few billionaires that help them out, but the voters, the rank and file, Main Street, is not supporting them financially, and the party is in tatters.
Yeah, they are in tatters. And hey, the State of the Union speech, or the deep State of the Union speech, if you will, really epitomized what the Democrats are all about here, didn't they, Gerard? I mean, what did you take away from it?
Well, I thought it was a true State of the Union speech as opposed to a laundry list of grandiose promises that there are no intentions of even attempting to fulfill. I think it was practical. I think it was inspirational. I think it was a good speech, a little bit long, but on the other hand, he had a lot of things to cover and had a lot of applause lines. I thought it was really funny to watch the Democrats sitting there nervous, tense, anxious, full with angst. I mean, these people aren't happy, and you hear things like black unemployment, it's the best it's ever been in the history of keeping the statistic, and they're just sitting there looking like you told them somebody died. I mean, they look so unhappy. I'm thinking of the Black Caucus looking so unhappy that their own people are doing well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you're supposed to be there representing your people, not out to grab power, and yet isn't that exactly what they're all about? Grabbing power?
Yeah. Yeah. And then Gutierrez, the congressman from Illinois, when he heard the chant, USA, USA, USA,
he was overcome.
He had a trigger moment and had to run out and find a safe space because he couldn't handle hearing USA, USA.
Yeah,
That's
he
bizarre.
was triggered. Well, you have to be careful the way you speak when you're dealing with Democrats because they're going to take everything in the worst way possible. But so what about Mueller? Is he going to be fired? Like we know for a fact that Rod Rosenstein, Deputy Attorney General, that's a appointed position. He was approved by the Congress 94-6, I think. He actually signed one of these FISA warrants and means he was part of the mess. Unless they somehow conned him into it. I don't think he's a stupid guy. He's going to be fired. And then Mueller, what's going to happen here, Gerard?
Well, boy, I'll tell you, this is a bowl of spaghetti where all these strands of spaghetti are intertwined, mixed up, confused, doing double service. There's all sorts of funny things going on here, but let's face it, to clear up this problem, to drain the swamp, a lot of people, and I'm talking about a lot meaning a dozen or 24 at most maybe, need to be fired at the highest level. I mean, they are Obama administration holdovers.
Acolytes.
Yeah. And I really think that Rosenstein's got to go, and I think Mueller will go. The question is he going to be fired, or is he just going to leave with no real benefit for having him in the office? Because let's face it, what is he going to do? Is he going to, indict Carter Page? And especially if Carter Page was a former FBI person, I doubt it.
According to the conservativetreehouse.com, which they're like expert researchers, there was a case where a Russian guy was trying to get information from a FBI employee, and by all accounts, the description of that employee in this Southern District of New York case from 2013 bears an alarming resemblance to Carter Page. Alarming. I mean, it sounds like him.
Right.
He was
the whole thing of the Mueller investigation is really outside the law to start with, because in order to appoint a special counsel, the statute, as I understand it, requires, and I'm not a lawyer, but requires that you have an underlying crime, or else it makes no sense to appoint a special counsel. So there was never defined an underlying crime because no one had an underlying crime. crime, and no one has found an underlying crime. If all they can do is find process crimes, which means you accidentally or purposely lied to the FBI during the investigation, that is as part of the process of the investigation, but it never has found anything in the way of a collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. If anything, everything we're finding out is that Hillary Clinton, her campaign, along with the DNC and maybe the deep state in the DOJ and FBI, were the ones who were colluding with the Russian spy, Christopher Steele.
Yeah, well, you just shake your head and you think nobody can make this stuff up, Gerard, Nobody can make it up. It's so uncanny and bizarre and shows these people aren't really that bright, are they?
No, and I think one of the ironic things is yesterday I realized that Christopher Steele may be in hot water for another reason, which I'm not sure he thought of, and that is he was a British MI6 spy,
right?
And the fact that he might have been actually working for the FBI at that same time might indicate he's going to be run across an indictment from Great Britain for counter-espionage. And so he may be in trouble on that side of the pond, so to speak.
Well, he had a court date yesterday for a civil case against him in the UK, and he was a no-show. And, people like him are really accident-prone, and, you just never know what's going to happen. I mean, if he's got the goods on HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton, think about that. His days might be numbered.
Well, I don't know if he has any goods on her, but there are probably a lot of people who do, actually.
Well, he's got the goods on someone. He's got the goods on someone. A lot of her close allies, Fusion GPS. One thing that's bothered me about Fusion GPS, if you're not familiar with them, they were the political opposition research company originally retained by the Washington Beacon, which was a front for a hedge fund in New York. And then Hillary Clinton picked it up. And there are 3 former Wall Street Journal reporters who own the thing. And I've not heard the Wall Street Journal say word one about what their former employees are doing. Now, granted, it was 9 years ago that they left the Journal, or they started Fusion GPS in 2011. But you would think the Wall Street Journal would have something to say here, Gerard?
Yeah, that's kind of interesting you bring that up. I was aware of the fact that Glenn Simpson was former Wall Street Journal, and yet I sort of wrote that off because I thought, well, people do leave the Journal and get jobs elsewhere. I mean, it's not uncommon to get you learn the trade at the Wall Street Journal, and then you go off and work somewhere else. John Funn, for example, has done a lot of work on voter fraud, and he was once at the Wall Street Journal. So I didn't put that together and then bring it back to the fact of their own reporting in the current case. But that's an interesting thing I'll have to give some thought to.
Yeah, what's the Wall Street Journal connection? You can't hold them guilty for the acts of their former employees. But the fact is, somehow this scheme for Fusion GPS was hatched while the 3 of them were employees of the Journal. And you would think the Journal would just say something, a clarification statement like, hey, we knew these guys, we've had nothing to do with them since. But have these guys been planting stories in the Wall Street Journal, in Dow Jones news publications? That's what I want to know, what their connection is.
It certainly might be possible because certainly the Journal writes about these matters, both editorially and on their news pages. But in addition, we know that apparently Simpson was involved in leaking things.
Exactly.
Purposely leaking things.
And paying off reporters to run their stories. We know they did that because that was in financial records that the House sued to get turned over. They subpoenaed their bank records, Fusion's bank records. Yeah. So this is there's more to this story, and we're just letting Fusion skip by. They seem to be very nefarious. And his wife, Jacoby, she wrote something that he was the author of the whole Trump-Russia meme, and then she deleted that. But of course, nothing is ever forgotten on the internet. So maybe she spoke a little too soon. I don't know the answer, but I know that there's a lot of murkiness here and a lot of unsettled and uncertain issues here. Put it that way.
Yeah, it looks to me like if you really want to clean this up, and I bet you Donald Trump wants to, and that you basically have to fire the higher echelons of the DOJ and the FBI. And actually, at this point, I would probably include Sessions in that, because I don't know if his recusal is because they have something on him. But I basically think they need to bring in outside talent that's more objective and non-political and doesn't have any past history with Uranium One or the Clinton emails or on and on and on, even the missing State Department records. So there's so many things, and it's the same group of actors that keep running into each other.
The rumor is that Trey Gowdy quit Congress or is leaving Congress to become the special prosecutor, or perhaps to take over Rod Rosenstein's job after Trump fires him. There's rumors that McCabe, the former deputy director and former acting director of the FBI, that he's been singing like a canary. All of them are going to be singing here, Gerard, because we're looking at a lot of time for a lot of things done wrong here.
A lot of time for a lot of crimes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, Gerard, so best place to find you is greatnewsforamerica.com. When's the book going to be out?
Yeah. Okay. The next book, which, by the way, is book number 6 for me. I've had number in the past. Mm-hmm. No, number 5. More Great News for America should be out hopefully around Washington's birthday. It's been delayed several times with a variety of problems, but book publishing is still a slow process.
Yeah, I know. There's just no way to get those words out any faster. It would be great if you could just...
It's faster than it used to be years ago, but I'll tell you, they need to streamline it a little bit.
Yeah. If you could just hold the pen or put your hands on the keyboard and then unconsciously just type out a book, and then, come out of your trance, it would be so much easier. It's taken me months to write books, a year. One of them took a year, and it's no easy task. So my hat's off to you for sure, Gerard, because you've done an amazing job. Hey, questions, comments for Gerard, myself, please email us, kl@kerrylutz.com. The Twitter feed's @KerryLutz, and the Facebook page is Financial Survival Network. Gerard, I'm glad you're feeling well. We'll talk to you again real soon, and keep your eye on Carter Page.
Okay. You have a great day.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.